All right, let's do it.
Whoop, whoop. Hello, everyone. Hi, Justin. I'm excited to be doing this with you. And
I know
thanks for those that helped.
It's been a little while in the making. So pumped to be doing this with you guys. We'll talk more about the partnership throughout the deck, but it's great to have all of you guys join us. And let's get stuck into it. Hey, first of all, Laura, I guess tell us what you do, just for the people that don't know, and then I'll talk about what I do.
Sure. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you. Feel free to use the Q&A if you have any questions whatsoever. This is over 4 series, so if we don't answer it in this one, I'm sure it's coming up, but we'll let you know. So my name is Laura Elkislasi, and I am the CEO of Profit First Australia and New Zealand. And I guess my role is to spread the Profit First awareness, because yes, I'm biased, but Profit First should really be implemented in every business because it makes such a difference to cash flow and efficiency. And I am the one that trains the Profit First professionals out in Australia and New Zealand so that they can help small businesses with their money and cash flow. So I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm Justin Bowman, Head of Growth at Thriday. Thriday is an all-in-one financial management platform, and we get out of bed every day to help make businesses more efficient, to eliminate as much financial admin as we possibly can, and just help as many small businesses succeed as possible. So we'll talk more about what we do later on, but let's just get into it. So this first session, what we're going to talk about is, what is it? So the first session, we're going to talk about why businesses need to be more efficient. So what we're seeing is the world has shifted, right? And there's a positive force and a negative force. Now, on the negative side, we've got inflation, and the data is very, very clear. High inflation, you all know costs have gone up, but consumers are hurting as well, which means businesses are hurting. And efficiency is a massive, I guess, antidote to inflation. Another thing that we're seeing, which is really interesting, is competition in the market. Now, when the market or when businesses are in pain, right, you see a lot of businesses failing. And here we've got more exits than we've had in the past few sort of time periods. But interestingly, we've got more entries, right? Because we've had a lot of people being laid off in their jobs, and a lot of people need additional income and extra money. So what that means is they start up these side hustles and businesses, and then what we have, the net result of this, is actually more competition in the market, right? Which is really, really interesting to us. Are you seeing any effects of this or impact of this, Laura, in what you do and the people that you talk to day to day?
Absolutely. I think I've seen in the last year in particular, and even more so now, the amount of burnout that's happening for those that have been in business, because they are in it initially for the passion, for the love of it and that sort of thing, but don't necessarily have the systems and cash flow in place. But then the amount of people that are starting out in business is so great to see, which, as you said, is creating such a competitive market. And I guess that's quite scary for a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be, which I'm sure you're going to go into.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. Like, by doing things the right way in the first place, you can avoid being one of these exits and improve your chances of being successful, which is what we're all about.
That's it.
So we believe 100% that the best businesses will definitely be the most efficient businesses. And the positive force that we see at the moment is technology, and very specifically AI. And, you know, I know that I use it every day in my job, and I know you guys use it too, Laura.
Absolutely.
But interestingly, you don't have to be using AI day to day. Like, you don't have to have ChatGPT open in another window, or if you're a builder or a plumber or whatever, you know, obviously you're not going to be on site using AI, but AI could be an enabler for you in many, many other parts of your business, where it's going to make things a lot more efficient. And it's sort of part of the backbone of Thriday and the technology behind Thriday, which enables all of the automation that we do, which we'll get into a little bit later. Anything specific you want to call out in relation to technology and AI, Laura?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is they're definitely buzzwords in terms of AI and efficiency and that sort of thing. But when we strip that back, it really does come down to, are you utilizing the opportunities that are there for you in your business? One of them being AI. And it's not that we're necessarily going to go into all of the reasons why you should use AI, but it has always been a part of things. And I think Thriday uses this brilliantly. So I'm really excited for you to share that later. But I really do think, rather than kind of going, oh, efficiency, everyone talks about efficiency, hear us out, because there are a number of tips that we're going to be sharing that will help you nail the opportunities that are in your business for more efficiency.
100%. And it's not just about the technology side of thing. It's about, efficiency in how you manage your cash flow, efficiency in how, what you're spending your money on, all of that kind of good stuff, which we'll talk about shortly. So the other thing that we're seeing is your customers are onto this, right? They expect more for less. They expect more value for money, and they expect you to adapt. They expect you to become more efficient, right? It's not just on them to try and save money by shopping around or whatever, or trying to get the best bang for buck. It's on you to sort of provide that value. Efficiency isn't just about benefiting the customer though, it's about benefiting you. So who doesn't want a couple more hours in the day or the week to do the more important things, right?
Absolutely.
And no one should be spending their Sunday evenings reconciling receipts.
Agree.
So why and how sort of has the financial industry become so inefficient? So what we can see here is paper. We were still using paper pre-1985, and then Excel was actually released in 1985. Great program, amazing software. People still use it. Yeah, mind blown, exactly. But we take it for granted now, right? Excel
Absolutely.
and the power of it, even though it is still amazing. And then cloud came in 2007, which was, Xero, for example. And, they had an amazing product then. But as you can see, now we're here in today, and it's been nearly 2 decades between any big changes in how this all works, right? Which is crazy. Like, I think you were in accounting before, Laura. How much have you seen change in that industry when it comes to efficiency and technology?
Let's put it this way. I knew it was slow moving, but when you actually showed me the dates of things, I'm like, no wonder I feel it's slow. And it's so true. It is one of the industries that is lagging when it comes to the innovation and the changes and the efficiencies over time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And here's why. It's because it's a hugely heavily regulated industry for good reason, right? It's very, very expensive to try and change anything in relation to finance. And, you've pretty much had a lack of control to even access your own data. The banks have just had a monopoly on your own data. We've got things like open banking coming in, so they're sort of being forced to release it. But what all this has created over this long period of time is this, mess. You've got to connect your bank account to your accounting platform, and then your quoting system. And then when you borrow money from some other financial provider, you've got to get that data in somehow. You've got expenses, invoicing, tax, payroll. It's, it is quite a web, and people have been trying to create point solutions for each one of these, because doing them all together, as we've learned, is, super hard and super complicated. So that's why things are the way they are. It's no one's fault necessarily. It's just everyone's sort of working with the hand that they've been dealt. And what is the enemy of efficiency? It's complexity, right? So, profit first is massive about reducing complexity within your business. And we'll talk about a few of those things. Like, give us an example, Laura, of what might be really complicated within a business that doesn't necessarily have to be.
Well, cash flow for one. And the biggest thing is what we see are the profit and losses that you run, or the profit that you might be told that you've earned at the end of the year, yet you're like, where is it? And it is because it is an accounting reporting. It is based on so many different variables, and you do really need to understand it and have the right support to help you with that. Whereas managing your money, and I guess this is what I love about Profit First, is that it goes back to the envelope system. It goes back to, how do we make decisions as human beings? How can we make this easier, and how can we make really good decisions? And so I hate complexity, which is why I love something that makes things easy to understand and implement.
Yeah, 100%. It's like first principles thinking, right? It's just taking it back to bare bones and making it as simple as it possibly can be.
That's it.
But it doesn't have to be that way. So the technology now exists to make all of this stuff easier, not only the technology, but the processes, right? So Profit First, and we'll talk about how that integration works. And this is it. This is the slide. And this is the slide that helped this partnership sort of get over the line.
You love a Venn diagram.
I love a Venn diagram. We love it. We love it. So I guess it all started with Mike, right, who came up with the process, documented it, put it out to the masses. I don't know how many people have read the Profit First book, but I know it comes up often in, you know, the customer feedback, that like customer conversations that we have. Do you have any idea of the numbers specifically?
Yeah, it's over
Laura?
1 million. I actually asked that question
awesome.
not that long ago, and that's obviously something that Mike tracks really closely. And if you haven't read the book, read the book Profit First, because it does simplify cash flow for you and how to make decisions. But yeah, over 1 million people have read it now, which is fantastic. Yeah,
super cool. And then obviously, you know, Laura got hold of it in Australia, reached out to Mike and said, how can I be the promoter of this and educate people within the Australian market on this? And then obviously you guys partnered with them. So how long's that relationship been happening for?
So we're going into 6 years, and we have Profit First professionals who are accountants, bookkeepers, and business coaches that are trained in this methodology to help small businesses be more efficient in, you know, and have more money, profit, paying yourself correctly, knowing where your money is going. And it's such a mission, which is actually incredibly aligned with why Thriday is even in existence as well. And it is to make business simple for people, and the success rates a lot higher.
100%. And it's that technology that we provide that sort of overlays here. So you've got the process and you've got the people together. They create a better method. With the technology overlaid with that, you've got better uptake, overall a better system. And in the middle of that Venn diagram is optimal business outcomes, which is the one thing that we're all passionate about and the reason why we're on the same journey together.
That's it.
And Thriday, so how does the technology actually work? So we've combined basically all of the tools that you need to manage your financial admin into one platform. So transaction accounts, you get a Visa debit card, you've got quoting and invoicing, you've got expense management and receipt scanning and saving. We automate the bookkeeping, we automate the accounting, and we automatically forecast and calculate your tax for you so you don't have to think about it, right? And as I said, building all of that into one platform was a pretty complicated and complex task, but we've been able to achieve it and we're getting some great results. So it makes life easy.
Sure does.
So let's get into it. Common financial mistakes that hijack business efficiency.
This was fun when we were talking about this. We're like, what is it? So we've got stick with us. We've got quite a few that we want to talk about.
We do, yeah.
So I'll let you jump into it.
Yeah. So trying to earn your way out of a hole. Talk to us about that big mistake, Laura.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I see happen time and time again, and I've been in this spot myself where it's like, I just need more sales. If I just earn more revenue or I bring in more money, it'll fix these problems, or it'll feel better, or I'll be more comfortable, I'll have a successful business. And so there is obviously the mindset and how you feel about your business that, you know, when you're not feeling great about it, you can think more sales and revenue is going to fix things. And it could actually be the practical where it's like, I know my cash flow feels tight. This doesn't feel good. I'm working all of these hours and at the bottom line doesn't really show for it. And so the default position is to go, I just need to earn more. And what this actually does is puts you into the cycle of constantly earning, but not actually making any change and burning yourself out in the meantime, which, yes, it might increase your top line, but it doesn't actually feed you, your family, your community, and your sanity. So that's one of the biggest mistakes I see.
And then not knowing. So this is one of the reasons why we created Thriday, right? Like not understanding your financial position, not being able to monitor the health of your business in real time, not knowing how much money you made this month compared to last month, not knowing where your money's actually going. Like all of these things were hard to figure out, you know, in the old way of doing things. So not knowing is a huge issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we get into the detail. So not knowing how much you're actually spending. What are some spending mistakes and habits you see people sort of?
I've been there. The biggest thing is around subscriptions. All of you, I'm sure, subscription creep is so easy. Like, I'll go on that trial and then I'll cancel it before that expires and that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden you've got 4 subscriptions that are supposedly doing the same thing and you're not really using any of them. There's that. There's also the fact that, you know, there's definitely a mindset that I have seen, I've been in it myself, when you're in the hustle and growth sort of phase of your business is, well, I'm going to spend more to invest in my business to then have better results, without actually knowing what you're spending and whether you're getting a return on that investment. So from the little day-to-day things to the big mentality around just constantly spending to grow, which I think is a really easy thing to fall into. Yeah,
100%. And then not knowing what might be profitable and what might not be, right?
Yes.
This, you know, you might have 3 projects on the run, and one of those projects is bringing in a lot more revenue than the other ones, and you kind of focus your time on that and you're trying to get more projects like that one. But then you go back a few months later and you realize, hang on a second, that project cost me way more than these other smaller projects that didn't bring in as much revenue, but they brought in a lot more profit, took me a lot less time. So huge.
Absolutely. The other thing that I see around the profitability piece is potentially having too many products or too many services and offerings that it's really hard to track what time and cost is going where, and therefore becomes quite this complicated web of understanding, you know, if I do this one thing, is it going to get the outcome that I want, which also the pricing comes into it as well. But it is definitely, we can overcomplicate things, which actually makes it harder for us to know the profitability side.
Yeah. Not knowing when the right time to invest in new staff, tools, products, etc.
Yes, this is something that I think all of us have this question as business owners. I know I do. I know it's a constant thing that comes up for my clients, and that is, I know that we're growing. Can I afford new staff? Will it make the difference? Will this tool really increase efficiency and get that return? What about if I, you know, buy this product to have this outcome? And it really comes down to not knowing whether or not you have the cash aside for something like that. And that is, it's a difficult thing. And if you've got retrospective reporting, or, you know, you're looking back last quarter and you're 6 months, you know, 3 months in front of what you're looking at, it's really hard to know whether you have the money right now to invest in the thing that will help you to reach your goal. And I find that knowing what you're trying to achieve is a really big one. So we often put on staff without actually knowing what they're going to be doing and how they're going to help the business and what that's going to return in terms of profitability, growth, you know, moving that needle forward. It is also investing and leveraging all of these tools that, yes, if you utilize all of them really well, they could work, but it's going to take 6 to 9 months for you to really realize that return, and can your business sustain that? So there's a lot of things to consider, but it, like, narrowing it down and the not knowing is where it really complicates things.
Yeah, 100%. I tell, like, the operational expense account is one of the things I love most about Profit First, and we'll talk about that. Not knowing your customers' willingness to pay / pricing, right? This is huge. I know one of the first big projects I did when I joined Thriday, sort of as a startup, we had to understand how much people were actually willing to pay for our product. And, you know, that involves competitor analysis. It involves talking to actual customers, understanding what they value the most, what they value the least, and then coming to a price point that's fair for them, that people are actually going to be willing to, put their hand in their pocket and actually pay that amount of money for the service and value that you provide, but also fair for your business and your employees and what it is that you do. So that value for money equation, that willingness to pay, is imperative, because so many people sell themselves short and undervalue their services.
Definitely. That is one of the biggest things that we see. And I think it's also where the not knowing around pricing and the customer's willingness to pay, and my stance on the, and I'm going to talk more from a service perspective rather than a product, because it is a very different way of pricing and that sort of thing. But from my experience with my clients, it is a matter of not knowing all of the things that you take for granted and do as part of your service, and not being able to articulate that transformation or that outcome. So it very rarely comes down to the actual dollar figure and more about what is it going to change for this person? What is the transformation they're going to have? What are they going to get out of it? So an example with Thriday is that, you pay X amount of dollars, but you've earned that back, I think in 2 seconds, really, when it comes to how much it does. But the same with your service offering. Why do people work with business coaches? It's because they are looking for an outcome. And yes, that comes with a price. And so being really clear about what the value is and knowing how to articulate that to your clients is where I see a lot of people struggling.
100%. Working with a coach or a mentor or like whatever service provider, at the end of the day, you're trying to get to the end goal more efficiently than you would have been able to on your own, right? Trying to figure it all out yourself.
Absolutely.
I was actually talking to a painter the other day who uses Thriday, and the time that it saves him basically pays for the entire annual fee in a month. It's crazy. So
yeah, exactly.
Not knowing what you need personally from your business. So what are your goals? How much revenue do you need versus owner's pay versus profit?
Let me talk all about this. So this is my jam. And this is where we start all of the time and what we tend to do as business owners is we start something because we're passionate about it, or we're in a position when we need to earn some money, and we don't actually consider what is the purpose or the point or the goal of getting into business. Why are you working in your business? And it becomes a job that you effectively have created for yourself, not reaching these goals because it's not something that you start with. And what I mean by that is they don't have to be huge goals. It could be, hey, I want to be able to cover these expenses or contribute to XYZ or whatever it is, but having some clear idea as to like why you're striving for it, because then you can look at what money does your business need to generate so that you can do that. And we hear online all the time, I'm going to hit 100,000 or 1 million or whatever that amount is. And it's so revenue driven. And you can have $1 million business and no money. Do you know what I mean? Or you can have $100,000 business that gives you the best life ever. And it really comes down to knowing your goals, knowing that revenue is not necessarily going to save you, but really like, what do you need to pay yourself? What sort of profitability do you want to have in your business, and ensuring that you have this covered. And surprisingly, we can earn a lot less revenue if we know these pieces of information.
Exactly. Here's a big one. Not chasing invoices.
You know all about that. Let's talk. I'm sure you see that with, that's why people jump onto Thriday, right?
Yeah, 100%. So like some people have a fear of reaching out to people who owe them money, thinking that they are going to look bad or that they're not going to come back for more business. But at the end of the day, if you've provided good service, people don't necessarily want to pay you immediately, but they're happy to pay you to get it done and dusted. They're not concerned about paying you because you've delivered what you said you were going to deliver. But in saying that, there's a couple of cool things you can do with chasing invoices. With Thriday, we automatically follow up unpaid invoices on your behalf. And the other thing you can do is use a different email address to send the request from. So, you know, chase your invoices. It's, you know, you might be shaking your head going, I chase my invoices all the time, but a lot of people don't.
It's true. Absolutely true.
Not knowing your true value. And we sort of touched on this earlier.
We did touch on it earlier. And again, I find that knowing your true value is something that's spouted online. And it's here's the thing. You are valuable regardless of what happens, but being able to articulate how you're different, or that all of the skills that you have actually create a very valuable product or offering and that sort of thing. And so not discounting that, because a lot of time we've been trained into trading time for money versus looking at, well, what is the value and the outcome? And I know we touched on this earlier, but it is crucial to keep this front of mind.
Yeah, there's a great book by April Dunford called Obviously Awesome. And it's all about positioning. So she talks a lot about B2B SaaS products, but it really is would be beneficial for any business owner to understand positioning, because a bit of a change of how you present yourself and what people think is the outcome is going to be based on the services that you provide can make a huge difference in what you're able to charge and what they're willing to pay. Not quoting fast enough. This kills me as a consumer, not, you know.
The amount of money that goes out the door because you've had an awesome conversation with someone and like, yep, I'll send you that quote. And then you get busy because you don't have your efficiencies in place, or you're just overwhelmed by a number of quotes. That is money that is never coming in, because from a consumer point of view, it's like, why am I waiting so long to work with you? Do you know what I mean? And like, I get it can be clunky. I understand that we can have our own fears and concerns around being too expensive, or, you know, not winning the deal or whatever it is that can stop us, and we can get in our own way as well. But like, if you can make quoting the focus and priority in a timely manner, this will equate to more revenue in your business.
You know, you're better off saying no if you know that your quote isn't going to go out the door quickly, because it's one less thing that you have to do. It's a massive driver of efficiency, and the quotes that you do get out the door faster are much more likely to convert. It's really that simple.
Yeah, we've got a question here. Would you share the name of the book again, please?
Obviously Awesome by April Dunford.
I'll write that down as well. Beautiful.
Not negotiating terms.
So, this is a big one, and this is what really riles me up. Sorry, Justin, I'm like fully like into this. Oftentimes we're given a contract or a proposal or a position where most people go, oh, it's a yes or no. It is never a yes or a no. You can always negotiate, negotiate. And I'll let you jump in here as well before I get on my
another book recommendation, Never Split the Difference.
Yes, that's a great book.
That's a killer book.
Love it.
Killer book.
Yeah. And when I mean negotiating terms, I'd love for you to, Justin, to talk about it from both sides, like as a customer, but also as the supplier as well.
Well, look, as a customer, you want to know what's happening. You want to have your expectations set from the outset. You don't want to have any surprises, right? So that's part of the term negotiation. As the service provider, of course, the terms, you want people to pay on time, you want people to pay the right amount, and you want it to be very clear that if anything does change, then this is going to cost you this much extra. It's all about expectation. It really is. That's when communication. It goes downhill when people are shocked or surprised or don't know what's happening. So that's the way I see it. Absolutely.
And a couple of tips for you. You can always negotiate when payment comes out as well for the bigger things like insurance and electricity and all of those things that we think we're locked into. We don't actually need to do that. And this is one of the things that our clients who implement Profit First learn, is that you can contact, even if it's a debt, and say, can we move this payment to this date? Or I'd like to be able to do with the ATO, a stepped payment plan where I'll pay you a lot less then and until I get my business to this point, and then I'll increase it. It's about a conversation. It's about asking for what you ultimately like or sets you up for success. And the worst answer is no. You're in no worse position.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you don't ask, you don't get.
That's it.
The only answer to the question that you don't ask is no. So
absolutely.
And I remember sending you an email not that long ago, Laura, of these small business restructuring specialists who have sort of found, it's not a loophole, but it's a government scheme to help businesses succeed rather than, I guess, try and get money back after they fail. And these guys were auditors, and what auditors have a different door in to the ATO to negotiate debt than what accountants do, or what the general public do, or even the person who owes the money, right? So I thought that was really interesting. There's all these little out of the box services where, if you're struggling or whatever, there's probably a way to be able to survive, because people don't want you to fail. People don't want you to fail.
Absolutely. And on that point, Tanya's put a comment in saying, I found that suppliers are way more forgiving on terms if you're honest and upfront, and then stick to your arrangement. That's the key. Have suppliers to say they can go to the bank on what I tell them I will do, as I've never gone back on my word. And you're so spot on, Tanya. Thank you for sharing.
A lack of focus that actually gets you to your goal. Shiny object syndrome. I'm pretty guilty of it.
I think we all are, Justin. I think we all are to some degree. And I think it's not having meaningful goals as well. Or if you don't like the word goal, I guess, what is the thing that you're striving to get closer to or accomplish or feel a certain way? And we get busy as well. We do things that aren't actually going to bring us any closer. It's just busy work. And so focus is absolutely key.
Yeah, 100%. Understanding how your business is serving you rather than how you serve your business. And this is like, I love the sort of side of things you get to with your teachings here, Laura, and a lot of the social media stuff that you put out.
Yeah. So the biggest thing here, and this is something that I say over and over again, and I ask the question that I really ask those of you on this call now, are you serving your business, or is your business serving you? And what do I mean by that? How is your business there and you're showing up to it, having to do certain things that isn't necessarily filling your cup, isn't getting the results that you want, you're working really hard, you don't have enough hours in the day and you're not feeling great, then you are serving your business. However, if your business is serving you, and this is what I absolutely love about Profit First, is that you can reverse engineer what your business needs to look like and what your money needs to look like, so that it can serve you, so that you know that if you bring X amount of revenue in, you'll have X amount to pay yourself, X amount in profit, have your expenses covered, tax and GST no longer a problem. And what I love about Thriday is that you guys make this so easy for people.
Yeah. You should know exactly how your business is performing, and it's not hard. It's just rules in the background.
That's it.
So some functional mistakes that we see people making, mixing personal and business, and this could be personal and business relationships to a point, but generally personal and business money is a big one, right? Like if you've just got one bank account and for a portion of the month it's full of cash and you're just dipping into it because it's full of cash, and then a month from there your BAS bill comes in, and then it's near July and your tax bill comes in. Bill shock.
Yeah, it is. And it's Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law is normally around time. So whatever time you have is what it takes for you to complete something, but it's the same for your money. And if you're working out of one bank account, then all of the money that you have there, you're likely going to spend, because we don't have a running spreadsheet in our heads around this thing's coming up on that date and that sort of thing. And we overestimate what we can achieve in the time that we have available to it. And so we'll spend our money and go, oh yeah, that's fine, this invoice will come in, and it doesn't come in when we're expecting it to. And or you don't know what you need personally, so you're pulling out of the business without knowing what this looks like for the business and for you. So separate personal and business.
Yeah. If you're going to do anything, separate personal and business. Thinking all the money in the account is yours, and that's what we just sort of discussed to a point.
We did. But like, this is a big question that I get asked when someone comes to work with me, or any Profit First professional. The first question that we generally hear is, what money is mine? Because, you know, there is a fear that if you pull too much out, then your business will fall over. And often we don't think about the GST component is never ours to begin with if you're registered for GST, or, you know, you have to pay for materials and product and that sort of stuff, which is generally upfront, and you're paid for that first before you're paid for anything else. And if you spend all of that, then it's very unclear. And having, I guess, the different bank accounts is key to this element.
100%. All your eggs in one basket. So the big thing here is you might have one really big client, and this is Pareto's principle, right? 80% of your revenue is coming from 20% of your customers. One of those big customers or big suppliers goes broke, and it makes it very hard for you to get out of that hole. So try and diversify as much as you can. I learned this the hard way. I used to have an e-commerce business, and we used to import a lot of different stock. And I ended up investing in sort of 4 40-foot containers of barbecues, which was all of the money that we had at the time pretty much. And I was relying on those barbecues to get there before summer, and relying on them to be sort of the best product available at the time. And turns out I was a little fish in a massive pond as opposed to a big fish in a little pond. And we got put to the back of the queue. Barbecues didn't get there till winter. Cash flow dried up. Done and dusted. Shut it down. So yeah, be very, very careful of having all of your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing, is looking at client concentration as well. So if you have got a bigger client, how integral are you to them, and are they your priority? And also, what are you doing at the same time to bring in other income? Should that change, or should you get sick of doing that? And that's the other thing, is that we are allowed to change our minds as business owners, but we often get stuck because we have all our eggs in the one basket, or with the one client, or in the one thing, and it can really rock your business. Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of, the things that hijack your cash flow. Part 2, coming up next Tuesday, is going to be preparing your business for financial stability. So this is the fun stuff, really. All of the bad stuff that we've spoken about today, we'll go through how to overcome that, basically, and set yourself up for success, which is super exciting. So how to prepare your business for success, and the system for securing financial stability. So pumped about that.
Absolutely. I can't wait. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop it in the Q&A. I know that we had a question here asking about a replay that will be available to you. So you can go back to this, because even just knowing the things that are hijacking your business success and efficiency, you can start to look at which ones could potentially be a focus that you can make some change in. And that's probably my challenge to you for this week, is to identify some of those, so that then when we come together next week, we can start to solve them with you.
Yeah, awesome. Any other questions from Q&A, anybody?
Yes, so Thriday is new to me. This is Rosalie. Will Thriday replace Xero, or is it an adjunct?
Thriday can replace Xero if you want it to, but you can also use Xero in parallel with Thriday, with the Thriday bank accounts, if you choose to do that. Which is super cool. We actually just got notified that the other day from our banking partner.
Yay!
Yeah, which is, it's very cool. Cool for a lot of your customers, or a lot of your clients, Laura, for sure. So with Thriday, the way it works is when you register, you actually get new bank accounts, and it's the new bank accounts within Thriday that power all of the automation. So if we were just to connect another bank account, you know, and have a bank feed, we wouldn't be able to enrich that banking data, automatically apply the chart of accounts, automatically categorize the transactions, which is all of the sort of smart stuff that happens to automate the bookkeeping and the accounting. So that's why with Thriday, you get a new bank account, and that's kind of the biggest thing that makes us different to Xero. Of course, you know, we do all of the receipt scanning, the invoicing and the quoting, and everything from Thriday as well. And all of that information is taken into account when we're calculating and forecasting your tax, etc., which makes it, you know, super, which enables the cash flow portion of it and to monitor the health of your business in real time. So ultimately, it's a replacement for Xero.
Awesome. I love that. And yeah, Thriday, I highly recommend if you're wanting the automation and to implement Profit First really easily.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of other questions as well. So one question is in relation to the Profit First principle. I'm doing the splits like you suggest, but for example, I have to book flights which are reimbursed by clients. Do they come out of operating expenses? These are more than 35% sometimes. So fun fact is I own a travel agency as well, so I can answer this very specifically for you. And the reimbursements are treated like materials and subs, so they are not your operating expenses at all. They come off the top line. So you've got your revenue, then you take out your flight costs and that sort of thing out of your materials and subs account, or you would call it flights account, and then the rest would be done, and whatever's left would go into the additional accounts and split that way. So that 35% is treated the same way as you would GST. So I hope that helps.
Makes sense.
Then we got a question for you, Justin. Can you connect bank accounts from different banks?
Not at the moment. So you will be able to eventually, we imagine. But again, it comes back to being able to enrich that banking data and having the quality of data that we have within the platform for us to be able to, you know, provide the automation that we provide. You know, quite simply, you could still use your credit card outside of Thriday, as long as money is coming into Thriday and then your expenses are going out of Thriday and you're saving, scanning those receipts to Thriday. That's what powers all of the automation.
Yeah. And on that note as well, one of the things that when we were looking at partnering with Thriday was what type of bank was being used and that sort of thing. And Thriday are backed by an amazing bank that makes it really accessible to people, but it's also, you know, community focused and that sort of thing. So if that's important to you, then that might be another reason.
Correct.
Out of the many
Yeah, that's a really good point, Laura. If you're interested in that, Regional Australia Bank is our banking partner. So the bank accounts that you get when you subscribe to Thriday, even though you won't see Regional Australia Bank branding on them, you'll see Thriday branding. It's actually a real bank providing a real bank account with a BSB number, all the functionality that a normal bank account has, also backed by the financial claim scheme, the Commonwealth Financial Claim Scheme, of up to $250,000 per account holder. And, you know, we, for exactly those reasons, we chose Regional Australia Bank to work with, community driven. You know, they're great people and a great business to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually is a sort of a slight on question from that is, where are you keeping all the cash balances, which you've answered, and is it with another bank or do you have a credit license?
It's with Regional Australia Bank, and we come under their credit license as, beautiful. I think it's a sub license, but I can share all of the terms and conditions and details there. But at the end of the day, if Thriday didn't exist anymore, those Regional Australia Bank accounts would still exist and you would still have full access to them. So, you know, this is one of the reasons why we built Thriday the way that we did. We thought we'll reinvent the wheel, but we won't reinvent the spokes, right? We, you know, if we were to go out and create a new bank and build a new bank, crazy amount of money, crazy amount of time, we'd still be 2 or 3 years away from where we need to be. So we partnered with a bank. And we partner with various other suppliers and providers for some of the tools that we deliver within the platform. But at the end of the day, we've brought all of these things together to eliminate as much financial admin as we possibly can and save you guys as much time as we can.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And that was really important for me, because there's a lot of things out there that they not actually using a bank, and therefore if that technology was to fall over, then it becomes quite worrying for the consumer and that sort of thing. And that's not the case with Thriday, and that's something that I'm super excited about. We've got quite a few other questions. You happy to hang in with me and answer them?
Let's do it.
I have 5 bank accounts as per Profit First. So do I get 5 again with Thriday? Yes, I recommend it, but I'll let Justin answer that.
Yeah, you can set up to 9 bank accounts within Thriday. So if you were to start using Thriday, that is how I would recommend to set it up. So you would probably stop using your other bank accounts and just start using your Thriday bank accounts, because you get all of the benefits which we've already discussed.
Yeah, and they're all fee-free, which is really, really cool.
And there is a sunk cost of the effort that people have already put into setting those bank accounts up, because it's hard. A lot of times you've got to go into a branch. You've got to do paperwork for each individual account a lot of the times. But with Thriday, you can click a button and set up another account, click another button, set up another account. And we're actually working with Laura and the team at Profit First at the moment to be able to actually automate the bank account setup first of all. But ultimately, we want to get to the point where we can automate these target allocation percentages across the different accounts, which would be quite amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think you already answered this, but will Thriday support other banks in the future?
Yeah, when open banking becomes ubiquitous and the banks have actually delivered on, what they've been told to deliver on, and we can use their data, then we'll probably open up to other banks, but it's a long time away.
Awesome. And does Thriday integrate with other programs, e.g. rostering?
Not at the moment, but that is something that is on our roadmap, because I know, different types of businesses like photographers and wedding planners and that kind of thing, who I've spoken to, rely really heavily on the customer communications and project management side of the business. And that's kind of more of the time consuming part of their business than the financial management side of it. At the moment, we're very focused on just the financial management side of it, because even if a lot of their time's taken up with the other stuff, we know that dealing with the financial management side takes on average 5 hours a week, right? Which is crazy. And our goal is to bring that down to about 30 minutes. So at the moment we don't integrate, but we plan to in the future.
And I guess the idea of Thriday is to be the solution for a lot of things as well, right?
Correct, to an extent. Like, there's so much and so many things that we can work on just from a finance and a financial management perspective, that our roadmap is exhaustive already. This is why Intuit bought what do you call it? The email MailChimp.
Oh,
it's why they bought
right?
MailChimp, right? Because they combined the marketing side of it with the finance side of it. We're not quite there yet, and I think we'll do it in a different way, where we might first integrate with Zapier and enable a bunch of integrations there.
Yeah, awesome. Is there a payment gateway integrated with Thriday?
Not yet, but there will be pretty soon.
Awesome. And how soon will the payroll feature be available?
We're probably about 4 or 5 months away from payroll.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the last question, I love how it's all Thriday and like wanting all the nitty gritty around it. When will Thriday be able to support entities that operate as a company or a trust structure?
Good question. Probably about 4 months.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, if you're a sole trader, this is the platform for you, and Thriday is obviously going to be working to make it easy. Do you want to explain why you're taking the time to do that? Because I think that's a really important thing that people should know.
Definitely. So as a sole trader, you're the owner of the entity, right? So it's very easy to match your identity to your entity. or your business entity, right? To do that with a company, a trust, or a partnership becomes quite opaque and quite difficult to do, actually. So we're working very hard with our banking partner to be able to digitally verify companies, trusts, partnerships, and the directors, and the structures that sort of sit around all of those things. As soon as we can do that, we're ready to rock and roll in the background in terms of the tax calculations and the different things that, or the differences that companies might have compared to sole traders. So yeah, it's a huge focus for us right now. We have companies absolutely chomping at the bit to use Thriday, but like any business, you've got to start somewhere and sort of work your way up to be able to providing all of that value to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that, because my biggest frustration as a customer is when you have to wait 2 to 3 weeks to get verified to then utilize something. And the fact that this is so important to Thriday to get right, so it is as seamless as what it is right now, I think is a really important thing, and says a lot about what's important to you guys and also to the businesses. So totally appreciate that, even though I'd love for you to be able to take on companies and trusts right now.
Well, the time will vanish.
I know, it will. Absolutely. All right. It looks like we've got no more questions. And thank you, everyone, for all the questions. We love answering questions. We'll be back next week, won't we, Justin?
We certainly will. Thanks so much for joining us.